Today, we're looking at a blue-black ink from Callifolio Cassis. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps down below so that you can skip around to the parts you're most interested in, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. You can also follow me over on Instagram, and if you're new here and like fountain pen inks, I would invite you to subscribe. I do a new ink review daily. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this Pilot vanishing point with a medium nib, wrote with it for a day, and used it to take my notes for this video. In order to standardize some of my writing samples, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper for all of the inks. I do use other papers, and some of those will show up later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. Now the extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 8 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, about the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 12 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation because there is none. How about Tomoe River? No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 14 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 20 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both shows us no color variation, and we didn't get any. And Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 9 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 13 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we got none. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And what we see is this very dark purple pushing its way up, and it's really in the very beginning leaving little bits behind and getting darker as it moves up. But we're seeing that blackish line across the top. Now the one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And we're seeing that that purple has really gathered together on the bottom. It's forming a much darker, more there line. It still is pushing its way up, and we're still seeing that kind of familiar black that has shown up so often in blue-black inks. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I would probably be willing to use this in a note-taking situation if I wanted to highlight, because while the lowercase h is getting some of the ink pushed away and the capital H does get some feathering going on, there is some spread that's occurring, but it is all completely readable, which is the most important part if I'm looking back to my writing. Water is reactivating and lifting a great deal of this off the paper, but not all of this off the paper. We're getting a bunch of it still left and not breaking free. Now, pen flush is breaking that ink up, and it's really starting to get it off the paper. That was only 30 seconds of it sitting there. So with more than 30 seconds, that should be all that you need to get this out of your pen. The 1/3 bleach solution does completely remove it from the paper, but it also discolors the paper a little bit, a kind of yellow, but there's going to be no need for a 1/3 bleach solution here. I test viscosity or flow with a tilt test that I'll link down below in a description or in a card. Now for the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Callifolio Cassis has a viscosity of 1.89, making this a wetter ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I average all 6 of those numbers. Now, for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Callifolio Cassis has an average dry time of 13 seconds, putting it right on the edge of normal, but still normal. Instead of finding inks that look like Callifolio Cassis, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I wanted to go with a nice magenta, and I chose Noodler's Black Swan and Australian Rose. The second writing sample is done on P. Berger, Levenger, and Strathmore writing paper. Here we're looking at P. Berger. This is a French rule student grade paper. Now we get plenty of bleeding that's going on with the medium and with the 1.1. A lot of ghosting. I think the extra fine did very well with the medium and a 1.1, not so well. The 1.1 has a lot of feathering, but it also bled, and I tend to see those two things occur together. It's got a ton of feathering, no spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The medium is got spots of some feathering. Like the word the has a bunch of feathering, the word quick has a bunch of feathering, but fox is good, dog is good, dry is pretty good. Okay, no spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 4 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no color variation, and there was none. Levenger. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. Now the extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 4 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, same tone as the stub with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, and 6 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no color variation, and there was none. And last up, Strathmore writing paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. Now the extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, and 2 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, same tone as the stub with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, and 5 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no color variation, and there was none, and that is all that I have for writing samples. So what do I think of Callifolio Cassis? There's a slight purple lean to this blue-black ink, so if you like very dark purples, this becomes a perfect ink for you. Now if you really want that traditional blue-black, this is not the one to go with. It can provide some decent shading. I think that purple lean in there is an interesting variation to the normal blue-black that I would use. So what nib and pen is going to give the best writing experience? With that slight purple lean that this ink has, I prefer to really show that off by using a medium flow, medium or fine nib to really get just a little bit of that purple coming through. If you've enjoyed this video, remember, I like thumbs up, you like thumbs up, everybody likes thumbs up. Unless you didn't like it, then give me the thumbs down. Both are good. Thanks for watching.